Let me call the regular scheduled Board of Alderman meeting on May the 21st to order, and I'm going to ask Alderwoman Pat Hamilton to lead us in prayer, and then I'll lead us afterwards with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Please join me in prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for this beautiful day, dear Lord. We especially thank you tonight that we can still meet and do the business of our city. Dear God, we especially thank you for hearing our prayers and for answering our prayers. Dear Lord, on tonight's agenda, there's many issues that are of concern to our city. We ask you, dear Father, to guide us through hearing all of the decisions and making the decisions that are necessary. Guide our Alderman Pro Tem George Collins as he leads this meeting. This we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'm going to ask the city clerk to make a roll call.
Aldridge.
Here.
Collins. Dickerson.
Here.
Earhart.
Here.
Hamilton.
Here.
Henderson.
Here.
Wallace.
The quorum is here. Our mayor is absent. He's not here tonight. He's, I think, on vacation, but sorry missing it. But I'm gonna be sitting in and hosting the meeting tonight, and hopefully it goes good. We've had our approval of minutes mailed out earlier to all the board, and is there any questions about the minutes, or is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Well, by Alderman Pat Hamilton makes a motion, second. Second by Alderman Wallace. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We have one abstention. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is our consent agenda. And again, it was mailed out, well, we all got it last Friday, I think. And is there any questions on the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Alderman Henderson makes a motion, seconded by Alderman Dickerson. Is there any other questions about it? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're going to Planning Commission, old business. Public hearing date for application of a zoning map amendment submitted by Jared Darby, Brown Properties, on behalf of Earl Warren, property owner. The request is to rezone .21 plus or minus acres from AR to M2, heavy industrial district. The purpose is to renovate the existing structures for small storage equivalent to a small warehouse using. The subject property is located on the north side of Old Craft Cove, just east of Old Craft Road.
Yes, sir. It shows you a location map for our subject property. Just to give you an idea, 0.21 acres in size is less than 10,000 square feet, so it's a fairly small parcel of land. And you can see that it backs up to the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks. It's right here on Old Craft Code, which is accessed through Old Craft Road. This is Highway 178, and this would be State Line Road. And again, the applicant is seeking a rezoning from the AR agricultural residential designation to M2 heavy industrial, and they're seeking to repurpose a couple of structures that are on this property. It's an old water tank and an existing building, and they want to repurpose those for small scale storage use, and so that's why the rezoning was in order tonight. Shows you a close-up of the subject property, and you could make out the top of the old water tower and small storage building that was on the site. Over here to the northeast of the subject property, you can see the Burlington Northern Railroad line. We have Hunters Creek subdivision across the railroad tracks. Right here to the northwest of the property, we have an old single-family home that is currently occupied that does share the AR zoning designation. Now, the remainder of the property that you can see is all M2 heavy industrial, and there's a variety of businesses that are located along Old Craft Cove. And this picture just shows you a picture of the subject property from Old Craft Cove. You can see the water tank in the foreground, and in the background you can see the small storage building. This property was annexed back in 1990. Records show that the water tower and storage structure date back to the early 1970s. These buildings are currently both vacant. It's unplatted property. And again, the intent of the applicant is to repurpose these two buildings to use them for small-scale storage use. And we do have public utilities available to the property. If we take a look at our three rezoning criteria, number one deals with whether the original zoning classification for the property was a mistake. There's no type of mistake being claimed here. When this property was annexed back in 1990, it did come into the city with the AR zoning intact. And number two deals with the character of the neighborhood and has it changed to such an extent to justify the proposed rezoning. And what you have over here on the left is a 1996 aerial map, and you can see our subject property. You can make out the water tank and the other building. You can see there's not much around that. And then the Lenati-Taylor subdivision records show was platted and recorded back in 1993. And since that time, there's been substantial industrial development around the subject property. And you can see that evident on the 2024 aerial map that I have to the right of the 1996. So clearly we've had change in the neighborhood. The third rezoning criteria deals with whether a public need exists for the rezoning, and that probably goes along with the development patterns in the area. Our comprehensive plan 2040 future land use map designation for the property was industrial distribution. So by rezoning it, you would be bringing the property zoning into conformity with the underlying future land use map designation. Our planning commission reviewed this item at their meeting of April 9th, 2024, and they did find that the character of the area has increasingly become industrial, and they did recognize the future land use map designation on the property of industrial distribution. And so by a unanimous 6-0 margin, they did pass a motion recommending approval of the rezoning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Are you aware of any underground lines and things that run through there since it is?
I would defer to the applicant on that question.
Is there any other questions from the board right now? From planning? Is applicant here? You have anything to add?
$25 fine there, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, Board. Jared Darby, Brown Properties, 187 East State Line Road. I have no further comments to add to the staff's presentation. I believe they covered it. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I couldn't hear Alderman Wallace's question.
Are you aware of any underground lines that may be there, water lines, gas lines, anything?
I'm not at this time, sir. No, sir.
If it were to be approved, would it be required to repair those or remove those?
It really is not a zoning issue. That would pertain more to the site development issue.
As it went along?
That's right. How the property is zoned really does not bring into play whether there's any conflicts with underground lines or whether the property is developable as planned by this particular applicant. Zoning would just be the general zoning classification.
Is there any other questions from the applicant?
Mr. Darby, I have just a clarification. I drove out there and it's real grown up, so I'm sure y'all will be clearing it off, but the storage, is it gonna be in that just the tank thing?
Well, the storage, both facilities will be used for light storage.
And the
Both.
building, will you keep the little small sheds?
Correct. There's no intention of tearing anything down, just to repurpose it and refurbish.
And into it from Old Craft Road Code?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Mr. Darby, I hand you on the table is one of these things, be sure to fill it out. And it's for everybody out there, anybody that comes and speaks before us, please fill out one of these and give it to our city clerk so we can have a record of your names and addresses. Okay, is there any other questions? Well, is there a motion to approve? What? All right, yeah, is anybody else here to speak in favor of this? In favor of this rezoning? Okay, is there anyone here that's in opposition to this rezoning? Please come forward. As this is a public hearing. All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing since no one either side. Is there any comment from the board, or is there a motion to approve or deny this?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Alderman Earhart to approve, seconded by Alderman Hamilton. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Public hearing, second one on here, public hearing date for application of a zoning map amendment submitted by Ben Smith on behalf of Russell Basinger, property owner. The request is to rezone 81.52 plus or minus acres from AR to R1, single-family residential district. The purpose is to create a residential subdivision. The subject property is located on the north side of College Road, just east of Craft Road North, known as 7200 College Road. Public hearing set for this date.
Board, you have in your brown folders tonight a petition in opposition to the rezoning that was submitted earlier today. Staff has reviewed that petition, and it does comply with the requirements of the zoning statute in Mississippi, which would trigger a supermajority voting requirement. Now, we can get into the specifics of that a little bit later in the proceeding. The calculation of that supermajority is affected by the fact that you have the mayor pro tem presiding over a 6-member board. But the first step for the board tonight is to vote on whether to recognize the petition as sufficient to force the supermajority voting requirements. And it's recommendation of planning staff and my recommendation that the board vote to recognize that petition as sufficient because it complies in all respects with the statute. So if the board's inclined, I would recommend a motion, second, and vote to recognize the petition as triggering the supermajority.
Okay, is there a motion by the board? Anybody?
Motion approved.
Alderman Wallace makes a motion. Is there a second to his motion? Second by Alderman Dickerson to make it a supermajority. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's supermajority.
All right,
On the
next
vote.
item, Alderman Collins, next item is the petition that was submitted. Also included reference to a request that the item be tabled to allow for additional collaboration between the affected HOAs and the developer. That is purely within the prerogative of the board whether to table the item and for how long. And if the board were inclined to table the matter, it may want to hear from the applicant as to whether that would have an impact on the applicant, and if so, how. But I did want to mention to the board that that was included in the petition, a request to table the item. Well, last note, if the board does table the item, my recommendation is that you table it to a date certain so that there's a clear connection of dots, if you will, in the minutes as to the notice and required publication for the hearing.
Can we take into consideration the supermajority being?
Supermajority would be in effect whether the item's heard tonight or whether the item is heard at a subsequent meeting. The supermajority is in effect whenever the zoning matter is considered by virtue of the adequate petition being submitted. Now, I do recommend that if the board is inclined to consider tabling it, that there be at least an opportunity for the applicant to be asked if they have any input on that issue.
Can we have the applicant come forward now and answer that?
That's
Well,
certainly
we
allowed.
can, but my thinking was, unless you're gonna make a motion to table it, no reason for him, and then I'll ask for his comments. But if the applicant's here, he can come forward. With the applicant here, are you hear what they're talking about? It's, Ms. Smith, they're wanting to table it, say, I don't
Okay,
know, next meeting
we're
or
in
whatever.
opposition to tabling. We're prepared to present it tonight. This has been going on for 3 months. We've had meetings with the neighborhood, at the senior citizen. There was so many people there that there was not enough seats. It's been advertised. We're ready and we want to be heard.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, board, you heard that the applicant, I think, would like it to be heard, but you have a petition that says they would like it to be tabled. So there's a motion to table it or hear it. I mean, I don't guess we got to vote to hear it, but,
You don't have to vote to hear it, but if there were a desire to table it, that would require a motion, second, and vote.
okay. Is there a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion that we table it. I just need everybody to understand that anybody that's here tonight, that, and I'm gonna just make this motion for the next meeting for it to occur, the hearing to occur. Y'all have to come back. If you're still opposed, if y'all don't come to agreement, this has been going on, like Mr. Smith said, a good while. I'm not sure 2 weeks is gonna make anybody any difference on it, but to be fair to you, I'll give you that, I'm willing to give you that 2 weeks. But, you know, I just don't see that it's gonna make a much of a difference, but I'm willing to let you do this. I'll make a motion for 2-week table.
And just for clarity's sake, that is 2 weeks is the next regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen, which is on June 4th.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, we got a motion to table it to June 4th. Is there a second from anyone?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Wallace. Is there any other discussion over it? Is there, all in favor to table it to June 4th, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. It's tabled to June 4th.
The next item on the agenda will be tabled as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the planning commission, new business. Do I need to read it? I mean, it's automatically.
Yeah, just request a motion.
Yeah, I need a motion to table the first thing on the planning commission, new business, because it pertains to this. Is there a motion to table it to June the 4th?
So moved.
Well, Alderman Wallace makes the motion,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Hamilton. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is tabled to June 4th also. All right. Planning Commission, new business, consideration of application for final plat for Old River Farm subdivision, Phase 1, submitted by Nick Croonan, Civil Link, on behalf of Mark Matthews, John Mark, LLC, property owner. Request is to divide 29.7 plus or minus acreage into 34 residential lots and 2 common open spaces. The subject property is zoned R3, planned residential district, is located on the north side of College Road, just west of Highway 305.
Sir, just to give you a little bit of background on the subject property, it was rezoned with a project text and preliminary development plan back in May 17th of 2022, about 2 years ago, and that was for the project called Old River Farm. And then late last year, you may recall, we did an amendment to the project text back in December of 2023. Back again to 2022, in October 18th of 2022, the board approved a preliminary plat for phases 1 and 2, and that had a total of 72 lots. And what happens once a preliminary plat gets approved is that the applicant can submit civil plans for roadway infrastructure and utility infrastructure to our engineering department, who can in turn approve those plans and construction started. And you can see on this somewhat recent aerial map how you have all of your roads that are mainly in through Phase 1 and some of the detention pond facilities, and then they've even started some of the road construction into Phase 2 and cut some of the roads. If you've driven by on Highway 305, you'll note that there have been some improvements that are also underway along Highway 305. So the application that you have before you tonight seeks final plat approval for that first phase, which is the one to the west, and you can see the outline of it. And you can see on this drawing, this is the original master plan that was approved for Old River Farm with the yellow highlight around the Phase 1 area for final plat, and you can see that it pretty well matches over here. This is the final plat as being proposed tonight. Again, it has 34 single-family residential lots, and we checked all those residential lots, and they all meet or exceed the minimum size requirement of 10,135 square feet for what were called estate lots in that project text. You have the 2 common open spaces for stormwater detention and green space. You can see the one a little easier to see on the colored master plan here. That's here, and then down here at the entranceway along College Road that you can see there. This is a curb gutter and sidewalk design, and just to refresh the board's memory, the project text requires the new homes to be a minimum of 2,000 living square feet, and they'll have to meet the setback requirements that are appropriately shown on the final plat, 25-foot front, 20-foot for a front porch, 5-foot side setbacks, and 10-foot rear, and it has a height limitation of 35 feet. And we have reviewed the covenants, conditions, and restrictions that were submitted that would be recorded with the final plat, and they match all of the requirements in the PD project text, so there really weren't any type of issues there. Our Planning Commission reviewed this application at its meeting on May 14th, and by unanimous 7-0 margin recommended approval, subject to the conditions as noted. These are standard conditions, maybe with the exception of number 1. And if you recall, when this was approved back in 2022, there was a concern that was expressed by a different developer in the area who was stating that, well, what if Phase 2 never goes forward? We want to be sure that the improvements that are required along Highway 305 would in fact be completed. And so that's what that condition number 1 specifies, that a letter of credit to get this plat recorded would have to be included in the amount to cover any of those improvements with the shared entranceway those 2 developments would have on 305, and also any of the improvements, a certain percentage of the improvements that would be required along Highway 305. That concludes the staff presentation. I can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any question from staff?
Mr. Gambon, they seem to be doing the work out towards 305.
Yes, sir.
Have they started on the egress lane yet, completely? Parts of it, I think.
Parts of it, they've started. It's kind of, some of it's kind of roughed in and brought to grade.
But this is only on the Phase 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So they don't, that other's not required at this time.
But they were a little ahead of what.
Well, I agree with you.
Ahead of what they were doing.
Yeah,
So-
it looked like Phase 2, I agree with you.
If you remember,
But-
there was another development that was on this property to the north, and we have a shared entrance between the two projects. And so, and there's also required improvements all the way along most of 305 here, all the way up close to the intersection of College Road. And so when you approved the preliminary plat for Phase 1, you added a condition in there, and it said, you know, based upon the concern of this other developer, was saying, hey, what if this Phase 2 never goes forward? How am I guaranteed that they're gonna do their share of the work on 305? So that's where that condition came from. So the board said, well, when you come for a final plat for Phase 1, you also have to provide a certain percentage to guarantee that those Highway 305 improvements would be done. So all we're really doing is executing the condition that the board had added back in 2022 tonight, because we are at the final plat stage. Yes.
Yeah.
And they may very well finish that work before they record the plat, which is certainly fine by the city's perspective. But if they don't finish it, or, you know, there's a certain amount left, you know, that's what you get a letter of credit for. So our engineering department will get a letter of credit in whatever amount of that work that's not yet completed.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? The applicant here? Would you like to add anything?
Only thing I have to add, well, Nicholas Cronin, address 3629 College Road. The only thing I got to add is it's their intention to finish the 305 improvements before recording phase 1. So they're trying, last I heard, they're trying to get the base done this week and pave into this week, first and next. So 305 curbs already in.
I've been following it pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
Any other question from the applicant?
thank y'all.
Yeah, one of them out, Nick, please. Any other questions or motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Alderman Wallace makes a motion to approve it. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Aldridge. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Consideration of application for final plat for the City of Olive Branch Center Hill Fire Department subdivision submitted by Robbie Jones, Jones Davis and Associates, Inc., on behalf of the City of Olive Branch property owner. Request is to create a single lot of 2 ± acres for the city's new fire station. Subject property is zoned PUD, Planned Unit Development District, and is located on the west side of Center Hill Road between Highway 302 and DeSoto Road. Is this public hearing?
Yes.
Is this public hearing?
No, it's just
This plat, right. Is there any question by the board on it? This is our new site of our fire department. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just a couple of brief comments. The board may recall you purchased this property back in February of this year. It's 2 acres, and it's intended to serve for a fire station for the area that was annexed in 2021. So the overhead map that you have, this blue line shows the new city boundary as it was expanded back in 2021 up in the northeast part of the city. And this is Center Hill Road and Highway 302 DeSoto Road, so we're about midway between those 2 roads. Shows you the 2 acres. And so basically what this is when this plat gets approved and recorded, that precedes the fire station construction. And our planning commission did review this as part of its consent agenda on May 14th, and by unanimous 7-0 margin is recommending approval. And this drawing just shows you a copy of one of the 2 pages of the final plat.
Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the final plat?
Make a motion to approve.
Moved by Alderman Earhart to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Hamilton. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New business, consideration of recommendation to approve change order number 1, contract with Ensor LLC for project known as Ross Church Road Water Extension.
Yes, sir, Mr. Collins. This was to add, so on the plans, the construction drawings, we had 8 fire hydrants, and what the contractor bid was 7, and we went back and looked at it, just realized we made a mistake between the plan quantity and the construction drawings. So we went ahead and moved forward with installing it as expected. So we're asking to make this payment adjustment.
Okay. Motion by Alderman Wallace to approve. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Aldridge. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried, so we got a change order. All right, the next thing is executive session. Is there, hold on a second. Is there a motion to consider going into executive session to discuss personnel matters in the police department, personnel matters in the gas maintenance department, personnel matters in the park department, personnel matters in the water maintenance department, personnel matter in the fleet maintenance department, personnel matter in the street department, pending litigation, discussion with the city MC 25417, 4B, and economic development, discussion by the city attorney, MC 25417, 4J. Is there a motion to consider going into executive session to discuss these?
Yes, sir.
Motion by Earhart,
Second.
second by Dickerson. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Now, is there a motion to go into executive session to discuss these matters?
Second.
Alderman Henderson makes a motion. Alderman Hamilton seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session for a short while.